Yo! Welcome to Learn the Sword. Today, I want to talk about something that a couple of students have concerns about, and that is, how can I apply swordsmanship to today's world? You know, the sword was great 500 years ago. A couple of hundred years ago, it had notoriety, but why learn swordsmanship today? Well, there are a few things. Remember that if you learn and polish with the sword, it gives you more of a focus or awareness around you, just because you've worked your mind and body together that way. There's lots of different explanations, but as a general rule, think of it that way. Also, you're thinking about, well, how can I take my sword and work it in this way? And how can I carry a sword on the airplane or a bus, let alone take it outside the house? We have to remember, swordsmen didn't always wear a sword. Swordsmen also knew other martial arts. But since they were swordsmen, they were able to use any other weapon and use the cutting and training patterns they learned with a sword. So, for example, if I was a samurai and I became elderly and I was walking down the path as an aged person, I would probably trade my sword in because I don't need it anymore for something as simple as a cane. Now, if you think about it, if I'm using the sword all these years and I'm a warrior, but down the road I'm retired, and if I trade my sword in, for example, for a cane, not only will assist me in walking, but I can still take the cane and use it in the same patterns you would with a sword. Also with a little jujitsu and a little bit different striking like with a jo. But as a general rule, if you take the striking patterns of a sword and you apply it to a cane, which if you've been doing these all these years, for example, if a samurai did that from the time they were born all the way to old age. So the sword patterns keep you alive in more ways than one. But then again, you ask yourself, well, yeah, what about this? But I'm not going to carry a cane. I'm not an old guy. So you think about it, well, what can you do? Well, do what they did. A long time ago, Japanese had to use fans. Just like that. A real nice fan. Matter of fact, I got this from my teacher, Tabuchi Sensei. Tabuchi Sensei gave this to me probably in Showa Rokujuyo Nen, Showa 63. So what I'd like you to see is this isn't just one everyday fan, even though it's nice. And of course, it has a nice floral picture to it. Metal edges. So you could be fanning yourself 150 years ago, and if someone tried to do anything, all you had to do is just slap them upside the head or come down and hit them this way. And I'll tell you what, this is a hard-hitting device. So at times when someone who is experienced with a sword and couldn't use it at that time, they would use this simple fan as a weapon of protection. Think about it though. Well, I'm not going to be carrying a fan around town. It's just not me. You're thinking to yourself. And in practical application, I don't know. A matter of fact, I might even get jumped more if I pull out my fan and start going at him tooth and nail. Well, let's just put today's thought process into it and get rid of the fan and work it in with a rolled up magazine. If you take a rolled up magazine, any airport, any bookstore, anywhere on the street, and you roll it up from the spine out, and you follow through with the exact same type of patterns that you do with a sword, and put in that speed, timing, and focus, you're on the target, breaking the bridge of his nose and coming in and hitting in the jaw side, coming into the solar plexus faster than they can even move out because you're learning the sword, and sword is quick. And when you take quick technique and apply it to something as simple as a rolled up magazine, you will definitely command someone's attention.